من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وقال ربكم ادعوني أستجب لكم إن الذين يستكبرون عن عبادتي سيدخلون جهنم داخرين صدق الله العلي العظيم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. With the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we all have gathered at this very moment in the masjid, in the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept it, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make all these activities means of our forgiveness. Amen. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq, ability to continue these good activities till our death. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq to do every good deed for His sake, for His pleasure. Before I forget, I would just like to remind you, inshallah, on this 22nd of this month, on Saturday, it will be Saturday, we have a program here for ladies. And in this program, the talks will be delivered by scholar ladies in English, in Urdu. So I humbly ask you all to spread this word and make sure the mothers, sisters to attend this program. Inshallah, it will be very beneficial. We men get so many opportunities to listen to the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but our women are always occupied at home, busy doing household work all the time. So we need to make sure that they also attend and participate in these programs. I recited a very brief verse from Surah Al-Mu'min. In my last week's sermon, I mentioned that in China, what happened there, they have been struck by a deadly disease which killed many people, and it's spreading in other countries. And I mentioned in my last week's talk, the only way we can avoid such viruses, such deadly diseases, is to make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has taught us many duas. One of the dua which he taught us is that when you see any person in a pain, who is suffering, who is distressed, And if you read this particular dua, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not let you go through that pain, that suffering, that illness, that disease. This is guaranteed. The dua is, Alhamdulillahi alladhi afani mimma ibtalaka bih wa faddalani ala kathirin mimman khalaqa tafdila. When you see someone who is ill, who is in hospital, or even now at the moment, the corona disease which started from China, even while sitting here, if you make this dua, inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will save us from such deadly virus and disease. Because our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whatever he has said, it will happen. If we see someone, Allama Shibli rahmatullahi alayhi used to say, and it was his noble habit, whenever he saw someone forgetful of Allah, unmindful of the hereafter, whenever he saw someone irreligious, whenever he saw someone away from deen, whenever he saw someone who has fallen into deviation, he will read this dua. Because Prophet ﷺ said, whosoever will read this dua, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will definitely will save him from that disease or from that deviation. What can be more suffering than being into deviation in a gumrahi and being away from the deen of Allah? So Allama Shibli rahmatullahi alayhi, whenever he would see someone who is without iman, he will read this dua, which means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if we see someone who doesn't have an iman, if we read this dua, inshallah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will definitely protect our iman, and our iman will remain safe. If we go to hospital and we see someone, when we go to visit someone, we should read this dua. So we should learn this dua, and this dua can be found in the books of the duas. Nowadays, alhamdulillah, the translations has been done in English in all languages. So, you should learn this dua, and whenever you see someone, if you see someone who is in cancer, maybe they read this dua, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will save you from cancer. If you see someone who is in another illness, a disease, if you read this dua, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not let you suffer from such a disease. So, dua is a weapon of a believer. Our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, hadith, he says, dua is a weapon of a believer. Dua is a pillar of a faith, and dua is the light of the heaven and the earth and the heaven. So dua is a weapon of a believer. When we look, all the personalities, the high personalities, we find in a religion, who in terms of, their righteousness, and they reach to a very high rank. When you look at their background, you will find there was someone's dua behind it that made him, reach such high rank, high station. So when you look at the Ghazwa Badr, in which the Muslims were very in 300, and the non-believers were thousands. What made the Muslims become successful while being handful? It was the dua of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. At night, prior to the battle, at night, the Rasulullah spent the whole night making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it was the impact of the dua that the next day, when the battle took place, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted victory to the Muslims who were very few in number, but and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted them the victory. When we look at Hazrat Umar Farooq radiallahu ta'ala, what was the cause of Islam? The cause of his Islam was the dua of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who made a dua for him. Allah, whoever is more beloved to you from Abu Jahl and Umar ibn Khattab, then you choose him, oh Allah, for Islam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose, Umar bin Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu for Islam, and he accepted Islam. So whenever we look at the personalities, who reached a very high station, we find someone's dua behind it. They made a dua, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made them, reach such a high station. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, verse I recited now, Allah said, وَقَالَ رَبُّكُمْ وَدُونِي أَسْتَجِبْ لَكُمْ. Your Lord has said, you call me, I will respond to you. I will respond to you. Now here, Allah has made a promise that definitely He will accept your du'as, and there is no condition. The one who makes a dua, whether he is a Muslim or non-Muslim, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts dua to the extent. Look at Iblis. Iblis, when he made a dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that, Allah, you allow me to live to the day of judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted his dua. His dua, the one who challenged Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who challenged Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no, I'm not going to bow before Adam. You challenged Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. While Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was angry upon Iblis, he makes a dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that, Allah, let me live to the day of judgment. Even at the very moment when Allah was angry on him because he was challenging Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and when he made a dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, his dua was accepted, and he was given the permission to live to the day of judgment. So dua is such a weapon of a believer that a person can never go wrong if he's making a dua. There's a hadith of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in which he says, when the doors of the dua are open for a believer, then he should remember then the doors of rahmat are open for him. Which means when a person makes, when he has the habit of making a dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at all time, he makes a dua at all times, whether he is in a state of happiness or he's in a state of distress, wherever he is, he's making a dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he will find at all times the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala right in front of his eyes. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying that, the one who makes a dua, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opens his doors of rahmah for him. He can never go wrong, the one who makes a dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in a day and night, there are so many occasions and there are so many moments. If we make dua at those moments or in such occasions, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will definitely answer our duas. Today, these moments just pass by, and yet, we just waste our time and we let these moments go, and we don't even ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for anything. Rasulullah sallallahu says, there's dua, it's not rejected between the azan and iqamat. Azan and iqamat, this is the period between adhan and iqamat is a period. The dua la yuraddu. Dua is not rejected by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whatever you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, definitely you will be given. Whatever you ask, when we come to the masjid anyway, we come to masjid, we sit here, why not, make a use of these moments and, make a dua for ourselves, for our offspring, for our coming generations, for the whole ummah. And dua will be accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there's another occasion in which dua is accepted, when the saf, when the iqamat is being said, when we're standing in the row and the muazzin is saying Allahu Akbar, he's saying iqamat. At that very moment, who makes a dua, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says his dua is definitely accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah answers the dua. And then even after the fard nawaz, the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, when we finish our fard prayer, after that, the dua is accepted. And let me say here again, it's not a condition that you raise your hands. It is not a condition that you raise your hands. If you raise your hand, that's fine. But if you just in your heart make a dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it will be accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when it's raining, dua is accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Abdullah bin Mubarak says that, once I was in Makkah al-Mukarramah, and Makkah al-Mukarramah was hit by drought. There was no rain. So he said the people, just came out and making, reading Salatul Istisqa, this particular prayer for rain, to seek rain from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. People made a dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no, there was no rain. And people were suffering. And he said, after a week, I saw one young man comes, and he reads the prayer, he offers the prayer, and then he goes in sajda. And he says, I heard him saying in the sajda, oh Allah, I'm not going to raise and lift my head until you give us a rain. From heart he was making a dua. He said, oh Allah, he said, oh Allah, I'm not going to raise my head from the sajda unless you give us a rain. He goes, when I looked at the heavens, I saw the clouds appearing, and all of a sudden it started raining. Then he said, he goes, I said to myself, I should I should follow this. So he made a dua and he went. And he goes, I followed this young man where he goes, who he is, so pious, for a week people have been making dua, there was no rain. But this young man comes and makes dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala straight away accepts the dua, and the rain is, is raining. So he said, I went and he entered the house, and this house belonged to a person who was selling slaves. So I went to him and I said to him, do you sell slaves? He said, yes, I have about 30 slaves. I sell them. So he presented all the slaves to me. I said to him, do you have any more? He said, yes, there's one who is useless. And he doesn't talk to anyone. He just remains all the time silent. I said to him, I want to see him, who he is. So he went and he called him. He said, when he appeared before me, I saw he's a very young man who made a dua. So he said, I made a deal with him. I want to buy this young man. He said, look, I bought it for about 30 dirham, but I'll sell it to you for 10. Because, he's to me, he's useless, he's nothing. So Abdullah bin Mubarak said, no, I will pay you more. Double, I will pay you double. I want to buy him. He said, fine. He said, I bought him. He said, I bought him. And then he asked me, why did you buy me? He asked Abdullah bin Mubarak was the Imam of his time and a pious and righteous person. He said, I said to him, I bought you so that I can make you my master. Earlier on, there was someone who was your master, you were someone's slave. I want you to be my master. So Abdullah bin Mubarak, he said, I said to him, look, because I heard you making a dua. The people were making a dua for rain, and there was no rain, but as soon as you made a dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah accepted, and He granted the rain to everyone. So I thought, there is something inside you, Allah buy you. So he said, he made a dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, oh Allah, for 30 years I've been worshipping you, and for 30 years I've been hidden. Nobody knew about me, who I was. But today you have exposed my secret. You have exposed my secret, who I am. So Allah, I don't want to live now. Oh Allah, I don't want to live now. So Abdullah bin Mubarak, he said he fell on the ground unconscious, he passed away. And then what I did, I bought a very simple shroud and I wrapped him and did janazah and buried him. When I buried him, at night I saw Prophet ﷺ in my dream, and the Prophet said, a wali of Allah passed away and you just wrapped him, in a very simple shroud. She goes, I was surprised to hear this. And next day I woke up and I went and I got some people and I dug his grave and took him out, and then I bought a very expensive shroud, coffin, and then I wrapped him in that coffin. So what I'm trying to say to you here, dua is such a weapon, of a believer, that, if a believer, if he has this faith and if he's certain that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept my dua, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept my dua, then definitely Allah will accept, his dua. Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu, a very young man from Syria, used to come and sit in his gathering. He used to come and sit in his gathering. He was a very pious, a very righteous young man. So after, for a while, Umar Farooq radiallahu ta'ala noticed that, he hasn't come to our majlis. So one day he inquired, he said, where has the young man gone? So the people said to him, oh Amirul Mu'mineen, don't ask about him. Don't ask. He said, what happened? He said, he has started drinking alcohol. His lifestyle has changed. He said, really? They said, yes. So the people who were sitting around him, Umar bin Khattab radiallahu ta'ala, Amirul Mu'mineen, he said to them, well, let's make a dua for him. Let's make a dua for him. And they all raised their hands and they said, oh Allah, Umar is making a dua and everybody is saying, Ameen. Oh Allah, we ask you, we beg you to reverse this young man's heart toward yourself. And then he called Umar bin Khattab radiallahu ta'ala, and who called his scribe, and he asked him, start writing a letter on my behalf. Write in the letter that this letter is from Umar bin Khattab from Umar bin Khattab to so and so. And in the letter, he encouraged him that, look, do not lose hope from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is there to forgive your sins. He wrote this is the verse I've just recited from Surah Al-Mu'min. He wrote the very beginning, those wordings of the Quran, غافل ذنب, قابل توب, شديد العقاب, ذي الطول, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says Allah is the forgiver of the sins. He is the acceptor of the tawbah, and He is severe in the punishment, and He is the source of all power. So He wrote all this, do not despair from the rahmat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you ask Him to forgive you, He will forgive you. If you ask Him to accept your tawbah, He will accept your tawbah. Fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then he read the letter of Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu ta'ala, and he started crying, and then he made a tawbah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then he became a righteous person. When Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu found out that he has changed his lifestyle again and he has become righteous again, then he said to the audience, he said, look, whenever you hear about someone that he has changed his lifestyle and he has fallen into deviation, he has become forgetful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he has run away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the way to bring him on the right track is to make a dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So here we learn a lesson. The lesson is, if our offspring and if our children, if we think they are not on the right track, they have gone wrong, they are not doing something which we expect from them, then the method is make a dua for them. The method is keep on making a dua for them. Especially there's a hadith of Prophet in which he says, there are some personalities, there are some persons whose duas are never rejected. One of them is the dua of a father for his children. Dua of a father, mother, whatever dua they will make for the children, it will be definitely accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no doubt. So if we make a dua for our children today, parents are complaining, they are crying that our children, they don't offer the prayers, they are in a wrong crowd, they are in wrong activities, So one of the, we should make so many efforts. One of the effort is that we make a dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And dua, I tell you one thing, this is the wrong conception of people. People think, when I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for something, if I'm given, then my dua is accepted. If I'm not given, then my dua is not accepted. This is the wrong conception. This is what the people think. This is the general concept is, if I ask Allah for something, if I'm given, then my dua is accepted. If I'm not given, my dua has not been accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is wrong. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is such a being, and He is so merciful. We make a dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Remember, what's going to happen in future, I and you don't know. Allah knows. Allah knows. Sometimes we make a dua to Allah, oh Allah, you give me this and you give me that. Allah knows. If Allah knows this is better for Him, Allah will give us. But sometimes Allah doesn't give us what we asked for. What happens in the return? He removes the calamity which was to befall us. He removes that calamity. Anything that was to, those unwelcome circumstances, Allah removes them through your duas. You make a dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and if there was a calamity to come to you, it will not come. It will never come. And there's a hadith of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says, when a believer makes a dua, oh Allah, you save me from this calamity, oh Allah, you save me from that. What happens? The calamity wants to come to that person, and the dua and the calamity, they clash. The dua and the calamity clash. The calamity wants to come to the person, and the dua says you can't come near him. Then eventually Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says the dua overcomes the calamity. The calamity cannot come to the person. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, when you make a dua, sometimes you get what you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the return, He removes the calamity that was supposed to come to you. Or what happens, Allah stores this dua for you for the hereafter. On the day of judgment, you will come into the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You will see the reward, a huge reward in the court of Allah. You will see, Allah, where has this come from? I have not done so much good deeds. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, this is the return of your du'as which were not accepted in dunya. So my young brothers, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here, is promising us, you make a dua to me, I will definitely respond to you. So we shouldn't make, there are so many moments at night, daytime, that, whatever we will ask, there's no condition that you have to raise your hands. You can't be driving and making a dua. You can be walking and making a dua. You can be sitting and making dua in your heart. Allah, you give me this, you give me that. Make a habit of making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then you will see how the rahmat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala descends you, and then you will see how Allah helps you when you are in need. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our sitting. Inshallah, this majlis will be followed by majlis zikr. If you